It's a waiver wire Tuesday, and today we're going to look at a ton of running backs. Pretty much to help you in all fantasy leagues, the deeper leagues, the normal leagues, the 12-team leagues, the 16-team leagues. We're going deep today. We're going to look at a bunch of running backs, look at what they can do for your fantasy team, think outside the box, and everything else. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. Every Tuesday, we're going deep on the waiver wire. Wednesday, we still go deep on the waiver wire. And then throughout that time, we're doing deep dives on the trending players. So you know whether or not you need to pick them up by looking at the advanced analytics, by analyzing their situation with that, and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. If you like Ric Flair, you do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. So click that button right now. I want to preface this. We did not get many injuries at the running back position. We're going to be looking at a lot of stashes today. A lot of stash handcuff running backs, handcuff pluses, running backs on the back of depth charts that we've been looking at before. But now we had a week without injuries. That means the ball's probably going to roll to the other end here. Maybe we get some here in the next few weeks. So you got to be a week ahead. But I also got an issue here, because Tyrone Tracy went off. And a lot of you guys are saying, not my league, pal. Not my league, pal. And honestly, it should be like that. And that's just sad, because we already seen what he can do when given the opportunity. Only one down game. And like I said last week, look at him just in case he got returned to the waiver wire. And a lot of leagues got returned to the waiver wire. You got to play with more cojones. You got to play with more cojones. Like, you got to have some stash running backs. You got to be looking for the future. Running backs break down. The next running back up is going to get that work. It's easier to forecast and back up wide receivers. Tyrone Tracy is a guy with a lot of juice that we've been talking about. A lot of places have been talking about. And the thing is, a running back like this that has been showing up and scoring fantasy points, getting production, getting a lot of workload, he should be rostered in like 70% of leagues. He should have been started in a lot of games yesterday. Like, it should not have been this unknown thing that a lot of people are talking about. Tyrone Tracy should be on a roster instead of a backup tight end, instead of a backup quarterback. Drop your backup tight end and pick up a stash running back. That backup tight end's not going to win your league. Most tight ends are like this every week anyways. You can't predict which one's going to hit anyways. But if that starting running back goes down on that random team and you already got the backup, you don't have to waste fab. You don't have to worry about fighting for him off the waiver wire. You got him. You're good to go. And now's the time to shuffle your deck to get ready for the end of the season and for the playoffs. Tyrone Tracy went off yesterday. We know he's good. We know he's good. A lot of people who watch this channel know he's good. But a lot of people also got to play with more cojones. We can't be playing scared anymore. You got to take risks on the back end of your depth chart where there's basically no risks at. Stash some handcuffs. Look at that. Look at the upside there. Get you a couple lottery tickets. Maybe one if you can do it, depending on the bye weeks and injuries on your team. But you got to start thinking more upside for the back end, that final leg of the season. Isaac Guerendo. There's a bye week coming up. Christian McCaffrey might make things a little sketchy. Jordan Mason might be back sooner than later. But let's enjoy Isaac Guerendo. And depending on the size of your league, you may have to pick him up anyways. But if it's a deeper league, he should already be picked up. But we got good size adjusted speed here. He's explosive. He can pop one on any given touch. We already know that. We've seen that in 2 games now. Isaac Guerendo is a running back to pay attention to. Pay attention to the Niners backfield. Isaac Guerendo, maybe for next year, you may want to look at him as a cup. Isaac Guerendo, though's got some juice here. And if he looks like he's getting opportunities and you're in line to stash a guy like this, who if not Christian McCaffrey's coming back, if not you don't care about the bye week, then he's a guy to look at because he's got some gusto. Jaylen Wright's got all the gusto. And he's been very efficient with his carries, averaging 9 yards per carry last week, 6.6 the week before, and 6.62 the week prior. 4.3 speed. The perfect handcuff running back because he's in the perfect situation. He's got 2 running backs in front of him who's been off and on with injuries these last 2 years, if not further with Mostert. Jaylen Wright might get more opportunities down the stretch because he's a rookie. He's a rookie playing behind two vets, and they might want to see what they got in the rookie before they make their offseason moves. That being said, Jaylen Wright has the speed to pop one on any given touch. Jaylen Warren's been getting touches and opportunities, not really leading the fantasy production, but he's getting touches and opportunities on a team that's moving the football. Right now, it's the Najee Harris show, but if you liked him in the offseason and you were trying to draft him in double-digit rounds, he's free right now. Alexander Mattison's getting that work, and he's a guy that should be rostered in a ton of leagues. This should be a not in my league pal type of player. This should be, but it's not. But we're getting enough work here where you should be interested in him, especially if you're hurting at running back. He's not a guy that's going to win your league, though. That's not what Alexander Mattison is. He's a guy that patches up the drywall and can get you a little bit of paint on the wall type of dude. He's that type of running back. He'll get you 10 to 15 points here and there, some down weeks because he's on the Raiders, sharing the workload a little bit, but he has emerged to be the dude in the backfield. And if you want touches and if you want good fantasy production, because he's giving you good fantasy production, Alexander Mattison's a guy to look at. Tyler Allgeier is one of the top handcuffs in the National Football League. He's not heavily touted for that because he's not a young rookie. He doesn't have the juice as like a Jaylen Wright or a Blake Corum, but he's solid. He's solid. If something happens to Bijan Robinson, 20-plus opportunities a game, a lot of work up the gut, all the red zone looks. Tyler Allgeier could be a guy that if something happens to Bijan Robinson, could win the league for you. Kimani Vidal. We got a few more weeks until Gus Edwards is back. On top of that, if something happens to J.K. Dobbins, Vidal is going to get that opportunity. He's got a lot of pop. He's explosive. He's fun between the tackles. He's a lottery ticket running back. Ray Davis should be rostered in all leagues. This should be a not in my league pal type of situation. But honestly, there's some leagues where he's just sitting there, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be off and on, off and on. And he might get dropped a fair bit this week, but he's starting to get more touches, more work, except for last week. But he's solid between the tackles. He's dependable. He's a guy that can help you out in a tough spot. He's a handcuff plus because he is also getting a little bit of work, but he's not the guy. He's like the 1B-ish, 1B minus back in the backfield. When they want to rely on James Cook, they're going to rely on James Cook. But still, Ray Davis should be rostered in all 12-man leagues as a stash here because we saw the upside. He's a young player. He's good between the tackles. He's one injury away from being a mainstay in fantasy. Braelon Allen, one injury away. He's a handcuff plus type of deal because he will have games where he gets a lot of opportunity and work, but not always. He's kind of like a gamble plus, but he's a major handcuff. He's shown his talent on the field, and if Breece Hall goes down, he's going to get a lot of work. But also, the Jets have shown to use two running backs, so Isaiah Davis is another running back to look at in that situation if Breece Hall goes down. Izzy Abanikanda has been a healthy scratch. However, on our lads, he's listed in red, which indicates he's injured. So he might be hurt, but I think he's a healthy scratch from everything I've read. But Izzy Abanikanda, I liked him as well. Would be brought up. Would be getting more opportunity on the 53 too. So it could be a head scratcher. Could be a three-man backfield too. So be open-minded with that. I do like Braelon Allen a lot if Breece Hall goes down, but I also want to bring up the other running backs. If you're in a 16-team league, you need to know who they are. Roschon Johnson, you're not going after, but if you're in a league that's 14 teams or more, you better be looking at him because he is getting work. He is getting opportunity. He scored a touchdown last week, and he's a guy that could end up getting more opportunity down the line if something happens to DeAndre Swift. Trey Benson, pop gun running back, who's very explosive. If something happens to James Conner, he could be a league winner down the road. He has a lot of upside. He could be a running back that just turns the leaf over for your fantasy football team. Emari Demercado is there to split the workload if something happens. If James Conner goes down, he's going to get a lot of work in the passing game if James Conner goes down. He's still getting a good bit of workload in the passing game, and he's still getting some work there. 7 targets in week 6. You got to pay attention to. A lot of people will be going Trey Benson, Trey Benson, Trey Benson. During those times, you could look at Trey Benson as a guy to throw some fab on, but maybe a little less fab you can get Emari Demercado in that situation. I would not stash him now, but if I'm in a 16-teamer, I probably will think about it because he is getting a lot of work because when James Conner went out, with that ankle injury and then had to tape it up and go back in. Emari Demercado got a lot of work in that matchup, and that's an indicator, a small sample, that they're going to split between those two running backs. Justice Hill gets a lot of work in the passing game, usually when the game script's right, but not against Cleveland. That being said, you're just paying attention to him. You're picking him up for those matchups where the Ravens got to throw a good bit, and also playing against defenses that puts the clamps down on their wide receivers. They did not put the clamp down on Zay Flowers. That is the big thing there. They did not put the clamp down on Zay Flowers in that matchup. He was running wild. That being said, if they put the clamp down on Zay Flowers and they are covering the deep ball fairly well, Justice Hill might be getting some work in that matchup. Sean Tucker, when you look at this offense, you know it's Bucky and you know it's Rashad, and those are the two running backs. He's still a stash back because he's one injury away. He's not two injuries away because they like to use both running backs. They'll use both running backs on the field at the same time. They do that a lot. He's one injury away. He's also a running back that, in the right situations, could be seeing some work. I just don't see it soon. We got the Chiefs on the road. We got the Niners after that. I just do not see it soon. Matter of fact, in some of those matchups, you're going to be very uneasy with the two incumbent running backs. D'Ernest Johnson, if Etienne's out, you may be looking at him for touches. I would not be looking at him for guaranteed fantasy production. I'd be looking at him for touches, work, potential use in the passing game. I'd be looking at him as a gamble if the waiver wire is slim. Blake Corum is a top-tier handcuff. Kyle Williams is great. He's getting a lot of work. However, more work leads to higher probabilities to injury because there's just more chances. Just more chances. Doesn't mean it will, just more chances. And he's a very stout prospect. Another running back to look at. Should be rostered in all 12-man leagues. Kendre Miller's dealing with a hamstring injury, so you may want to stay away for a bit. However, we're going to be on the road against Carolina this week. Gives up points to running backs. You may want to watch his status. This is a running back that if something happens to Kamara, you're going to be wanting him. Everybody's going to be going after him because he's got a lot of juice, a lot of wiggle. Jamal Williams, though, is the running back that you really want to look at in that situation if you want dependability on the touches. Kendre Miller's a running back in that situation you want to look at if you want to look at the upside and the potential gamble for that upside. And then I just brought up another running back there, so tout me on that. Dalvin Cook is a running back to watch, monitor. I did a You Need video sounding alarm that here's some touches for you at the running back position on a wonky Dallas Cowboys team. And I was lukewarm, cold, whatever you want to call it on it, but it is what it is, and you're just going to have to eat whatever happens. But a 35% opportunity shares, that's what you got out of Dalvin Cook. It's the Cowboys right now. It's Dalvin Cook at his old age right now. You might get something out of it. You may not, depending on your situation, depending on your waiver wire and what you want to do. Audric Estime is a running back to pay attention to down the line. You may want to have him stashed just in case something happens to Javonte Williams. He will be the pounder up the gut. They like him there. Very stout at Notre Dame. Moves very well for his size. This could be a guy that could be our league winner if something happens to Javonte Williams. I'm not going to say will. That could be because things got to happen. Things got to happen that's outside of his control, my control, everybody's control. It's just outside forces. But there's potential for that to happen, especially with how this team works the football. Julius Chestnut, watch for him on the short term because Tajay Spears will be back in action sooner than later. But if you're wanting touches for the short term, he's starting to rack those up and rack more opportunities. You may want to look at him. Keaton Mitchell, of course, we're not going to forget about him. He's back to practicing. The 21-day window was opened up last week. In a couple weeks, he'll be back in the 53-man roster. You need to be paying attention to him. You need to be stashing him right now because of the upside. He's not going to steal Derrick Henry's job. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at a pop gun running back that with one or two touches could blow up with that touch like a Jaylen Wright, like an Isaac Guerendo type of situation where if you just randomly get some workload, 5 to 10 carries, 5 to 6 or something like that, it's a home run threat. Some of you guys want players like that and some of you guys don't. The ones that are negative don't want players like that. The ones who are intrigued want players like that. And it really depends on how you play the game. It's a strategy point with these types of players, which we talk about all the time. Check his You Need video, especially the end of it. when I go deep about that. That's strategy with those types of players, not just him. But those are the waiver wire running backs we're looking at right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.